For those of you just joining us, welcome to the Economy in Your World, presented by Paul Ried Financial Group. My name is Jonathan Sherrill, and I'll be your special musical guest for this morning. Our program will begin shortly at 10:30 a.m. Pacific Time. Thank you so much. those of you just joining us, welcome to the Economy in Your World presented by Paul Ried Financial Group. My name is Jonathan Sherrill, and I'll be your special musical guest this morning. Our program will begin shortly at 10:30 a.m. Pacific Time. Thank you so much.
Well, greetings. I want to extend a very warm welcome to all of you. Hope you've enjoyed the music from Jonathan Sherrill. It is our pleasure in hosting this 28th annual client event for Paul R. Ried Financial Group on behalf of Tim Kimmel, Adam Jordan, and the rest of our financial team. I want to extend a very warm welcome to all of you. It's our pleasure in hosting us. For you that joined early, we had Jonathan Sherrill. You're going to hear more from him. We want to have a little bit of entertainment, and for you that have been in previous events, we love to have some entertainment, some great food, and of course, informative speaker. This looks quite a bit different than what our previous events have. Many of you have attended our events in the past, and we're thankful for that. They've been live, they've been in person. And as we know, during this time, it's a different reality almost. But folks, we couldn't let 2020 go by without being in front of you at this time. We have a presidential election, we've got some tumultuous times in the market, and we've got a pandemic. So we're here hosting this event, and it's all for you. We want to be sure and provide you with some information, some perspective, and some insight. It's while we're not meeting in person, one thing that I really miss is being able to give you a hug, shake your hand, warmly greeting you. And so I guess what I would say for all of you, consider this a virtual hug. I know we've all tried to bump elbows and hug in some ways, but this is our virtual hug to you. So again, thanks so much. We so appreciate you. As I was thinking about the event, there are some advantages to do an event this way. We're going to come back to it. Don't forget, we will come back to Newcastle. One of the advantages for you that are local in the Puget Sound area, you didn't have to fight the weather, didn't have to fight the traffic, and you didn't have to park. Now, the other advantage is, and we are so thrilled, is we're able now to host more folks. And so we have the opportunity of, first of all, having our speaker based in Washington, D.C., and he'll be speaking from there. We have our musician in Portland. And the most important, we've got all of you. And we've got over 610 of you attending right now from over 18 states. And we're thrilled. Some of you have come repeated times. Others, this is your first time. You may be a new client that perhaps just retired. Maybe you're a family member or guest. We just want to extend a special welcome to all of you. Our hope and goal is that you will find this information insightful, helpful for your benefit as you make decisions on your behalf as well. Some of the clients, just thought we would do a little bit of a study here too. We have some clients that have been here less than 3 months that are attending today. And we have several of you that have been clients for 32 years. The average length of client that we have is about 14 years attending today. So we're thankful for all of you. What a difference a year makes. Was as I was preparing for the event and talking to the team, it came to mind November 6, 2019. That was our event last year. We had a wonderful lunch. We're at the Golf Club at Newcastle. We had great music, and we had insights on what 2020 may look like. Well, it's all changed. These are times like no other. It seems that so much has been disrupted, and it seems like at every turn, our lives have changed. From travel to dining out to even grocery shopping. Going to the doctor, visits with family and friends. I don't know about you, but I know I had my first telemed appointment. We even took our dog to the vet, and it turns out what happened is we had to do FaceTime to get our pet in the right position to look at his ears. Point is that this has all changed. Folks, I want to assure you of one big thing, and this is our unwavering, steadfast commitment to your success. That has not changed. And that's a commitment to help you plan, protect, secure, and enjoy your retirement. And that means through our investment management, through our counsel to you, through the research that we do, and our ongoing meetings. It's keeping you well informed as well. And that's what part of this is all about. You see, we want to be proactive, continue to be proactive in all that we do for you, being sensitive to certainly the nuances of your portfolio and your planning, but also sensitive to the times that we're in today. We make adjustments in your portfolios, you've seen that. But also, we want to make sure you've got the appropriate information to provide a perspective for what's going on today. In that regard, since March, and some of you may have looked at these, since March, we've done 5 videos that are on the market. Our first one was in March to help you understand what our perspective was as we talk to you and what we believe that would be helpful for you to know. We also had 2 market letters. Some of you may have attended our town hall meeting. We had a virtual town hall meeting with Tim and Adam and myself as well. In addition to our website and blog posts, that's what we want to do to keep you informed. This is part of that. It's our first virtual meeting. So we are going to have a review, by the way. So when you do leave the meeting, just know there will be a 5-question survey. We just want you to tell us how it went so we can use a continuous improvement process to make sure that this is even better in the future. Well, this time certainly is different. And good, solid, relevant information is now more important than any time in history. And we have that commitment to you as your fiduciary. We're fully committed to that. Well, the purpose today is twofold. First of all, is to thank you for your ongoing trust and confidence over the years. In fact, it's been 3 decades since we started the firm. Some of you have been as clients for that long as well. Second, our purpose is to provide some perspective and insight into the current state of the markets. And it was obviously no accident that we hosted this 2 days after the presidential election. I know that our speaker has been busily kind of addressing any issues that he might need to at this point because the news is constantly changing. Well, you're going to hear more from Andy Blocker in just a moment. But let me go over the sequence for today so you know what to expect. First of all, our event will go for about 1 hour and 15 minutes. And in just a few minutes, I'm going to bring up Andy Blocker from Washington, D.C. Then we're going to have 2 special spotlight performances. And then what we're going to do is I'll wrap up with a little bit of a story. And we are going to give you the opportunity, one of you, to win one of 5 wonderful fall bouquets. So as we begin, we feel very good about the event today. We're excited to serve you. And now let me bring up our keynote speaker, Andy Blocker. Andy is, first of all, head of U.S. government affairs for Invesco Management. Invesco is one of the largest money management firms in the U.S. He previously served as executive vice president for public policy and advocacy for the Securities Industry Association. He was vice president of government relations for New York Stock Exchange, was special assistant to the president for legislative affairs at the White House, and he's a regular guest speaker on CNBC. Andy, thank you so much for joining us. We're excited to hear what you have to say.
Thank you for having me, Paul. It's great to be here and present to this wonderful group of your clients. This has been a turbulent year for everyone, so I'm excited to expand on the education support that you and your team provide. So what I'm going to try to do is share a presentation. Let's see if I'm still technologically challenged. Let's see how smooth this goes. I think I actually did it the first time. There you go. So I'm going to move pretty quickly here. I've got a short period of time, but I want to get a lot of information to you. There's a lot going on. So I'll just say that this election is historic in the sense of more people have voted in this election than any election in our history. Some of that can be the attention that the candidates have brought, but I think a lot of it's the fact of COVID-19, the fact that people are actually available to vote. People are actually focused on the issues more than they ever have before. So I'm going to give you kind of some of the insights we've got on where we're at right now and where things are headed and what do we think is going to happen in the future. So first, I just want to start, before I get specifically into this election, I just want to go generally speaking. One of the things we talk about with our clients is this whole concept of what do people want from a president? What are they thinking about when they're selecting a president? And the first thing is focus. We believe that the candidates need to focus on those issues that are most important to them. And we believe that both candidates actually did that this time. But generally speaking, those issues drive people's votes. And the good thing is that we have a playbook on that from Pew Research Center does America's Top Priorities poll every January. And this January, their top priorities were as follows: terrorism, economy, healthcare costs, education. And the way we look at this is through the prism of Maslow's hierarchy of needs from your psychology course in college. Basically, it's terrorism, we believe, is a proxy for physical security. Are you safe? That is like the foundation. If people aren't safe, I'm not really worried about anything else. If my health is at risk, if I'm in danger from attack, so terrorism's clearly there. During the Cold War, are we doing enough to fight the Russians in the Cold War? And then, or crime in your neighborhood. If you don't feel physically safe, you're not really listening to much else that people are saying. The other one that's been historically there has been the economy. We believe that's a proxy for financial security. So once you're safe, he's like, what can I eat? Can I provide for myself? Am I able to actually do the things I need to do to sustain myself and my family? And so those are the two top issues. Financial security is there with the economy, with James Carville's The Economy Stupid, back in 1992. But I think that's usually up there, but always it comes back to physical security if they're competing. So with that, the verdict has been in. Basically, for those who are most concerned about physical security, Biden was seen as more equipped to handle COVID-19. If you're more concerned about the economy, Trump was clearly the person that the voters chose to say, hey, I have confidence in him bringing back the economy. So when you put those together, okay, it's a split. And you saw that throughout the country. There's a lot of people who voted for Biden. There's a lot of people who voted for Trump. And it really depended on how you came down on these issues. But in key states, in key parts of these swing states, COVID-19 literally trumped the economy is the key issue for certain voters. And those voters who were most impacted were seniors. When you look at seniors, those 65 and older, by 6-1 margin, they felt it was more important for the government to address the spread of coronavirus than to focus on the economy. And because the polling for Trump was very low on handling the economy, except among his diehard supporters, that was the difference. So we're going to see some of the polling, the exit polls and stuff in the next few days. But right now, that's what's giving Biden the best chance over the next couple of days as we continue to count votes. So let's go to what happened. Okay, so we came into the night, and essentially, the bid-ask spread was Biden blowout all the way to Trump narrow victory. That's what everyone was talking about. And it's clear that we're in the Biden or Trump narrow victory. No one's going to blow anyone out these days. But so there's a lot of close states. So coming into tonight was interesting. A lot of people were saying, okay, well, Biden has a chance to win Florida. So everyone's looking at Florida. Nope, didn't get Florida. Oh, he has a chance to get Georgia. Doesn't look good in Georgia. Has a chance to win North Carolina. Doesn't look good in North Carolina. Has a chance to get Ohio. No, not going to win Ohio. And at the beginning of the night, basically Trump was doing everything he needed to do. He needed the whole court because, as I've told all the clients I've talked to over the last year, is that it's going to come down to Wisconsin, Michigan, Pennsylvania. Don't listen to all these other states. They matter, but they really don't matter. Because at the end of the day, if Trump held court with all of the states that he won in 2016 and just won one of those three, he would be reelected president. And if Biden held all the states that he won in 2000, that Hillary won in 2016, and he won all three, he would be the next president. So that's where the focus has been. That's where the focus needed to be. And I really didn't see much substitution. I felt if Biden were to lose Pennsylvania or Michigan, he wasn't going to replace it with Ohio. Ohio is a much more conservative state. He wasn't going to replace it with Florida either. Florida and Ohio for Democrats are like Lucy with the football. You're like, oh, I'm going to get, nah, pulled away the football. Okay. And that's exactly what happened on Tuesday night. So when you saw that, you were like, okay, all right. So with that, and a little bit more to explain what's really going on here with the voting and why there's these big swings and shifts. In the Sun Belt, in those early states from Tuesday night, their election law allows them to canvass and start counting all of their mail-in ballots early so that on election day, they're ready to release them. And that's what happened. So in all those states, they were releasing their mail-in ballots first, which really favored Joe Biden. And in doing so, he would break out to these big leads and people were like, oh, he's going to win the state, he's going to win the state. But then you'd come back with the other ballots, the ballots of same-day voting would come right after it. And pretty quickly, Trump was winning in Florida, Trump was winning in Georgia, Trump was winning in North Carolina, and Trump did enough to have him win Ohio. So that's what was going on in the Sun Belt. The interesting thing is that it's exactly the opposite in the Rust Belt. All of those states have laws in the books that don't allow them to start counting those mail-in ballots until late, until either the day of or right the day before. So you saw them releasing their same day votes first, which favored Donald Trump. So in Wisconsin, he built a 100,000 vote lead with the same day voting, and he was there for a while. And then I think it was a little bit before 5 in the morning, the wave of mail-in ballots from Democratic strongholds like Milwaukee and Kenosha City came in, and he blew away that 100,000 point lead. And so now he's up by 20,000, and the race has been called for him in Wisconsin, even though there's been just a recount right now that's in Biden's column. Then Michigan, same thing. All the same day votes for Trump were coming in. He built like a 250,000 vote lead. And then you had Detroit, Wayne County, Lansing, all these Democratic strongholds, and all of these mail-in ballots came in later. And now he's built a sizable lead in Michigan. Now, Pennsylvania was like a 600,000 vote lead. You're thinking, there's no way. I mean, you could do 100,000, 200,000 in those other states, but 600,000, how do you do that? Well, there was a huge swath, and I'm going to have it on another slide of mail-in votes that were kind of coming that were strongly for Biden. And those are starting to come in, and essentially, he's down, I think, last time I checked, about a little bit over 100,000 votes, but that is going to, we believe, quickly whittle away. At the end of the day, when you count all the mail-in ballots, you're probably going to have a situation where Biden wins Pennsylvania by a little bit over 100,000 to 200,000, somewhere in that range. So that's really what was going on. Now, you had the whole situation with Arizona and Nevada. Nevada, I think, will be called for Biden pretty quickly. They're starting to bring in those votes. Actually, I just saw the Secretary of State there today. They're not going to finish until Saturday, but it's trending for Biden. These ballots they were waiting on, they were wondering where they were coming from. They're coming from Clark County. They're probably going to lead to increase his lead as opposed to shrink Biden's lead in Nevada. Arizona is interesting. So Arizona early in the night was called by Fox News, and when they called it, a lot of people were shocked and surprised. And then later the AP called it, but none of the major networks called it after that. And so part of the reason they didn't was because they weren't sure what these ballots that had been counted, where were they from? What were they Trump mail-in votes? Were they Trump same-day votes? What were they? And it's right now, they're coming in about a 59% clip towards Trump. And if he holds that, he gets up to 60% clip, he could take Arizona. And the only reason I'm focusing on that is because that's important to Trump's potential path to victory. If Trump is able to turn Arizona his way, that changes a couple of things. Then that means that instead of Biden not needing Pennsylvania, which he wouldn't if he wins Nevada, Arizona, he doesn't need Pennsylvania, he would then now need Pennsylvania. And so, and if Trump holds Georgia and North Carolina as well, then it's really on the line. And the reason this is important, because we talked about all these contested election and all these court cases and things that Trump is challenging. Here's the situation. There's only one case that has been shown to have the merit to go all the way to the Supreme Court. And that is the case that's already been put up in Pennsylvania, challenging those votes that come in after 8 o'clock on Tuesday of Election Day. And those votes were allowed in Pennsylvania to be accepted if they're postmarked by Election Day up until Friday, tomorrow at 5 p.m. So 2 things. One, if, and this is a lot of ifs, if the Supreme Court knows that Pennsylvania is determinative of who the president is, they will have a reason to take up the decision. And second, if they believe that the votes that arrived after 8 o'clock on Tuesday would be determinative of who win, like if you counted them, Biden would win. If you didn't count them, Trump would win. They would also, so I think there's 2 barriers to them doing, but if those are the case, and that would be the case if, at least the first criteria, if Arizona is turned and he holds on to Georgia and he holds on to North Carolina. So that's a space we will watch. So this is the map where it stands right now, except for Arizona's blue here because AP and Fox called it, but really it's still not called. So that's what's going on there. So stay tuned. Let's look at some of the things about. Some people are saying, why is it so close? Why? Because all the polling said one thing, and why is Trump doing so well? Well, here's the situation. So here's the demographics that are Trump's advantage, and I'm going to focus on the white non-college educated voters. You can see it's 57% the 33%, 24%. That's a stronghold for him. Those are voters that he pretty much knows, not all of them, but he has a very strong footing there. Okay, why am I showing this? I'm showing this for the next slide. There are two reasons why these polls are out, and we're going to come up with a whole redo of why these polls were off, but they were not really focused on those areas where Trump was doing a lot of work. The Trump team did a great work with new voter registration in key states. Normally, Democrats out-register new voters relative to Republicans. This year, in key states of Florida, Pennsylvania, North Carolina, Republicans did a better job, doubling them up in some cases. And so that's one thing. That's one reason they were really good in their ground game. The second is they were also very focused in the Rust Belt states on non-college educated white voters who were registered to vote already but didn't vote in 2016. They're like, hey, if we get these people out, we have a big swath of new voters. And you can see on this chart in Pennsylvania, there's 2.3 million of these voters. And if you get like half of those to go, and you say the other side gets half of theirs to go, that's a 500,000 vote advantage. So I think we're going to wait to see if the numbers come in, but it seems like they did a really good job of getting these voters out who normally would not vote. The other thing is voter enthusiasm. People who love Trump love Trump. And so you can see here, it's like 88% are very or somewhat enthusiastic compared to 80% very or somewhat, but the very is what really counts. It's a 15-point gap between those who are very enthusiastic for Trump versus those who are very enthusiastic for Biden. And so really a lot of Biden voters are just voting anti-Trump, and that's not as motivating. If you want to be for something, not just against it. So that also is a reason I think he was able to keep this close. The other thing is Florida. You're looking at Florida, look at all these states, but you see the early vote in the upper right for 2020. Republicans in most states trailed Democrats in early votes. But in Florida, they matched them. And once they knew they'd done that, it was game over. They knew they were going to outvote them on election day, and that explains a lot what happened in Florida. Then Wisconsin, a little bit advantage for Democrats, but really if you look at the gray line on the 2020 early voters, they tilted towards Biden. And that's why he was able to build a lead in that and able to catch up later. Same thing with Michigan. A little bit of lead on the early voters, but then the gray vote skewed towards Biden. And then if you look at Pennsylvania, this is what I was talking about before. Early voters 2 to 1, 1.3 million to 600,000. I mean, that's a huge advantage. And that's why he's able to make up this gap of 600,000 votes. You can see it right there. That's like 700,000 advantage right there. And then go vote by mail, this whole new thing that we're doing these days. Apparently, we'll see how long it is, but we don't need to talk about this. But I've talked about the whole postmark. Some states you have to be postmarked and arrive, and we saw that play out. Then we turn to the Senate real quickly. In order for Democrats to take the Senate, they would need to actually have 3 net seats if Biden were to win the presidency. So that would bring them from 47 seats to 50 seats. And then the vice president would do the tie. If Trump ultimately wins, they would need 4 seats. So these are the states in play that we thought, okay, here are the states in order that we thought that the Democrats would have a chance to take the Senate seat. So they've taken Colorado. They're probably going to take Arizona. They're not going to win Maine. They're not going to win Montana. They're not going to win Iowa. Now, North Carolina, they're probably not going to win either, but that we won't know those votes until next week. Apparently, North Carolina decided to take a break, and they're not going to give us, what they want, what their final vote tallies are until November 12th. It's actually, that's their law that they have to accept ballots until then, as long as they're postmarked by election day. That seems like a long time. But anyway, that's a whole nother story. Then Georgia, there are 2 Senate races there, but they're still looking for more. And so there are only 2 seats they've gained, but Republicans turned Alabama back to their column. So 2 minus 1, that's net 1. They're nowhere near 3 net seats. They need 2 more. And so because they need 2 more, where are they going to get it? They could maybe get it in North Carolina, depending, even though it's down by quite a bit, the Democratic candidate. And then Georgia, there are these 2 seats, and both of them might go to runoff. And if they can pick up one of those, they could get it. But I think right now we're looking at a Republican Senate. So this is just a summary of where we are. This is old now, November 5th, 6 a.m. So much has changed, actually. But here's where we're looking at. We're looking at, the beginning of the night, we're looking at a potential blue wave, scenario 1. Scenario 2 was Republicans hold the Senate. When Biden wins the presidency, scenario number 3 was a status quo, where Trump remains president, Senate remains Republican, and the House remains Democrat. So we're favoring scenario 2 right now because we're leaning in on a Biden decision on the presidency. So you would basically have, if you had Biden's president, Republican Senate, the Senate will be the place where Democratic agenda goes to die. You're not going to see Green New Deal. You're not going to see Obamacare expanded. You're not going to see tax increases on corporations or individuals making over $1 million, or a payroll tax or cap gains tax. It's just not going to happen. So as long as that remains, that's what we're looking at. If Trump is reelected and he has the Senate, it's kind of status quo. All the things that we're doing right now are there. You'll get COVID-19 relief, you'll get infrastructure spending, but it won't be a great amount of dollars. It'll be enough. And then you're going to have a status quo. What we've been doing for the last 4 years. So that's where we're at there. Beyond 2020, we're still looking at the same industries that are impacted: fossil fuels, healthcare, pharmaceuticals, building trades, construction, and technology. And the thing there is that it's really, if Biden were to win, the thing is that there won't be a legislative agenda. There's not going to be these sweeping changes. You're going to have a narrow window. You're going to have to compromise. So you can't do these sweeping changes. But administratively, you can do a lot. I mean, Biden's still going to rejoin the Paris Climate Accord. He's going to also probably institute some environmental policies, reverse some of the environmental policies from President Trump. On fracking, he's already said he's going to prohibit the expansion of fracking on federal lands. The question is he going to try to pull back any fracking that's already there or not? But he's definitely not going to go after private, especially with the results of this election. That not a chance there. I think on healthcare, pharmaceuticals, they're going to try to get a deal on pharmaceutical pricing, drug pricing. So we'll see there. Buildings and trades. We thought that if there was a blue wave and that Biden were to win with the Democratic Congress, there'd be a larger infrastructure package. And if in a larger infrastructure package, that would be a boon for those in the building trades industry. Technology is going to be under threat from either side. Neither party is really happy with them right now. They both believe that they're playing favorites with the tweets that they allow and the tweets that they don't allow, and information sharing. So there's going to be a lot of scrutiny. The biggest threat to them is antitrust work out of the Department of Justice. I think both will look at that from their own perspective, whether it's a Trump administration or Biden administration. And then on trade and foreign policy, it's different approaches. So if Trump's reelected, he's going to continue to be volatile, probably get more volatile, like tweeting policy, just keeping people off their toes. That's what he likes to do. With Biden, it'll be more measured, more deliberative. He'll be signaling what he's going to do, making sure people have time to digest it, kind of more the way it's been in the past. And then, Trump's mano a mano, bilateral. He wants to go right at China himself, doesn't need his partners. Well, Biden's going to try to get a multilateral coalition with our partners in Asia and in Europe to kind of surround China. So that would change if the presidency changed. The thing that's not going to change is the direction. Donald J. Trump changed the conversation and changed the reality in our relationship with China. Politicians for years have been talking about being tough on China and doing this. Well, he's the first one. He put the tariffs on them. He talked tough with them too, more than anyone else in the past. And so we've crossed the Rubicon. We're not coming back. So even though Biden wants to engage with China, wants to have that relationship, he's going to be really hamstrung because right now the polling shows that 73% of Americans have a negative view of China. And so I don't know how you go and sweet talk them and give away the story. He's not going to be able to do that. He can work a deal with them, but as long as the American people feel like it's a fair deal. If he's going to give something to them or reduce the tariffs, he's going to have to get something on intellectual property and that not about being stolen or something else. It's going to have to be seen as fair. There's no free lunch anymore for the Chinese. Then taxes. I talked about this a little bit. President Trump had a bunch of proposals to reduce taxes, whether he's elected or not. That's not going to happen because it's a split Congress, and he's not going to. The Democratic House is not going to go for some of those. And then with Biden, he had a lot of proposals to increase taxes, which I talked about before. But with a divided Congress, with the Republicans controlling the Senate, that's not happening either. So on taxes, it's kind of pretty neutral. They might do some tax incentive bill or things like that, but it's not going to be these major tax increases either way. And then one more slide, post-election lame duck. In the lame duck, it's essentially the scenario is if Trump's reelected, I think you see COVID-19 relief relatively fast because it's all the same players. McConnell's still the majority leader of the Senate. Pelosi's still Speaker of the House. Trump's reelected. They're going to work to get something. There's no reason to wait. There's a lot of people who have a lot of needs out there. And so I think there'll be a lot of incentive there. If Biden's elected, it'll be split government. It'll be just changing out Biden for Trump. Not Trump will still be president. The question is, how much does he want to play ball and do that? Or is he like, I'm going to take my ball and go home? We don't really know what's going to happen there. I do think he'd want to do something. It just won't be that big. It probably needs to be a down payment, something that's easily negotiated. So that's where I'm going to stop there. I'm going to try to stop sharing my screen. I'm going to turn it back over to Paul or someone else. It's been great being with you. And you have a great firm. You're very lucky to be with these guys. They do a really good job. I like their philosophy.
Hey, thank you very much, Andy. And we're going to join you in just a few minutes. And Tim and Adam are going to be all queued up. And we're going to have some specific question and answers. Some of those that you've submitted that really focus on some of the investment implications. Fascinating information. So stay tuned. I think you'll find that very, very interesting. So with that, we're going to have a little live music. So we're going to bring back Jonathan, and let me formally introduce him. We're excited to have Jonathan here. He's going to play a couple of special numbers. Then we're going to go right back in to that Q&A session and with Andy, and then we're going to have a little bit of concluding remarks. So Jonathan is was raised in Sedona, Arizona. He performed for 18 years. He's toured with major and local groups. He performed for off-Broadway shows in New York. He's actually composed over 200 songs for documentaries and commercials for TV and film. And folks, welcome Jonathan from his studio in Portland. Thanks, Jonathan.
Thank you so much, Paul. All right. I think that everyone will probably enjoy the Beatles, so here we go. There are places I remember on my life. Some have changed, some forever, not for better. Some have gone, though some remain. All these places have their moments with lovers and friends. I still can't recall. Some are dead and some are living. In my life, I love you more. But all these friends and all these lovers, there is no one that compares with you, and these memories lose their meaning. When I think about love, there's something new. No, I know I'll never lose affection for people and things I went before. I know I'll often stop and think about them. My life, love you more. Though I know I'll never lose affection from people and things that went before,
I know I often stop and think about them. In my life, I love you more. In my life, I love you more. Thank you.
Thank you very much, very much, Jonathan. Beautiful. And the music's great. I kind of applauded right here, just like this, even though, Jonathan, you couldn't hear me. I was doing it, and I think a lot of other people were too. But for those that want to hear more from Jonathan, when we end our session, we'll officially end it, but we're going to have Jonathan kind of exit us out. So he's going to play a few more songs. So feel free, once I end, stay tuned. We're going to have some concluding remarks. As I said, we're going to do the drawing. We'll dismiss you, but boy, we're going to keep this going for a while because we want you to kind of enjoy this too. So, hey, with that, what we're going to do now is go right into our time of Q&A. So, and then we're going to bring Andy back up as well. And so these questions are going to focus on some of the investment implications, some of the questions that you had. Folks, it's a time when all of us have questions about the implications of the election, about the pandemic, and how it's going to affect the economy and the markets. We invited you to forward any questions that you had in advance, and so we've incorporated those into the discussion we're going to have. And then also we have questions that we've also developed that we're going to ask Andy as well. So Tim and Adam, I'm going to kind of lead it over to you. And Tim, why don't you kick off with a question?
Sure. Thank you, Paul. And Andy, thank you for your comments and your perspective. It's on the election and policy, and you focused a lot on the election. So I'd like to turn it a little bit more to the economic side of things. And I guess one of the questions that we get quite often that we'd love your perspective on is, given all the uncertainty, given all the challenges with the economy, right, and the divide in our country politically and other areas as well, how can the stock market be, so resilient? So we'd love your thoughts on that.
Sure, great question. So first, I'd recommend for your clients 10 Truths or 10 Truths About Elections by my colleague, Brian Levitt. He does a really good job of talking about, there's a myth out there that it actually matters if a Republican or Democrat wins the election. And that's really not the case if you look back. And he does a great job of charting that over time. And he does another chart, which is amazing, where he says, okay, say you're a Republican, you just hate Democrats, and you don't want to be invested in the market when Democrats are there, and you're in the market when the Republicans are in, you're out when the Democrats are, and like your gains are like this. But then say you're a Democrat and you hate Republicans, and you're only invested when Democrats are in, and you get out of the market when Republicans are in, same thing. But if you're invested in both and you stay in, it goes like that. It's amazing because you're missing all the big trading days. You got to stay in. It's not about whether you're invested, it's about how you're invested. And that's why you have this great financial team. Sorry for my dog. Sorry, I don't know if you can hear that. Anyway, stay invested and work with the team. That's the big thing there. But specific to this election and where it seems like it's heading, I love Sasha, but she's just too excited. What is it going to do? If Biden wins, or if Trump wins right now, we're in a divided government. The market loves a divided government. It means there's not going to be these crazy changes. The bid-ask spread on what gets done is here instead of here. I mean, before, if you had Biden with a blue wave, you were going to see a situation where, okay, sorry, I'm distracted by this. I apologize. You'd have a situation where you could see expansion of Obamacare. You could see, hold on a second. I just told my kids to get my dog under control. Okay. you could see these wild swings of different things and the uncertainty of what will actually happen. You potentially could have seen tax increases, and so all of that is would have been problematic. But right now, I think we're in a great position. I think the market's going to love it. I'll put you on mute for the next.
It's always great with these virtual meetings. It's kind of fun because you don't know what's going to come up, guys. We had a little bit of an internet issue. We had a little bit of an internet issue in our office too. You're going to say something, Tim?
I was going to say, yeah, the joys of virtual meeting, right? That's great.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Adam.
I have a question. You had mentioned divided governments, markets kind of like those. And historically, divided Congresses, the minority party is usually in the House and not the Senate. In fact, if you go over past 100 years, I think you have to go to 1800, the last time it was a Democratic president.
1885 to 1889, you got it.
Yeah, yep. And so what's the implications of this this kind of unusual divided government versus more traditional?
Yeah, I mean, there's no data. Okay, we didn't have data on the markets and how they reacted. But in the other scenarios of divided government, they've done just fine. And so I'm not really worried. In fact, the fact that Joe Biden is one of the most cross the aisle, moderate guys who wants to cut. He's a creature of the United States Senate. I mean, who do you think was the guy negotiating the last things for Obama that they got through Congress? It was Joe Biden. It wasn't Barack Obama. Barack Obama's a great guy, but he's a dreamer. He's not the practical guy getting in there, talking to Biden was the guy in there getting it done. So I think, so with that and with him really trying to reach across the aisle, to be honest, I think him being with a Republican Senate is actually going to feel a little bit more comfortable for him. It's going to allow him to, this is a guy in the Democratic Party who was talking about, how he would, didn't like segregation as senators, but was willing to work across the aisle to get the deal done. I mean, so he's willing to say that in the Democratic primary, and he still won. So my point is, he's not going to look at, oh, you're a Republican, I'm not going to work with you. He's going to work with whoever it is to get done what the American people want to get done. And that's what we want from a president. So if he's there, that'll be fine. If Trump's in, it'll be a lot more volatile, but he's going to want to work to get stuff done, at least the stuff he wants to get done too. So, but right now it looks like it's going to be Biden. So that's why I've been focusing on that.
So one more question, Andy, from my side, a couple more. Obviously, we have plenty of time, but one question that we get quite a bit from clients too is, what about the massive stimulus efforts? You mentioned there's probably more coming, possibly by the end of the year, possibly again another stimulus package after the new year with the new president or the inauguration. What is the implications long term on investors that you see with debt and the economy and the markets?
No, it's a great question, Tim. So what we've seen, what we were predicting was, if it were a blue wave, you could see definitely north of 2 trillion put in the beginning. It'd probably be 3 to 3.5 trillion, a big number, right? And that would really kind of boost the economy. That would help things along, and that would mean the recovery from COVID-19 would come faster. With this divided government, those packages is going to be south of 2 trillion. If you get to 2, you might get to 2 trillion, but you're not going to get too much more. So it's going to help, but it's not going to be this big rocket charge. And interestingly, if you combine the fact that the stimulus is, even though the stimulus isn't going to be as much, it actually prolongs your recovery. It prolongs the growth cycle. And so that's good for markets. And then in addition, the fact that you're not going to have those tax increases, you weren't going to have those tax increases until 2022, first of all. They're going to be delayed, but the fact you knew they were coming, that would be kind of a dampener too. So I take this situation, no tax cuts with a little bit less fiscal stimulus, but it's gonna continue. It's gonna be like the Obama years a little bit, because because it was a recovery from it was a credit crisis, and the financial services sector was not as there. It had to rebuild first, savings had to build back. It took a lot longer for the economy to come back. It's gonna be a little bit like that, even though it's a different situation. So we feel good about it. It's going to prolong the growth cycle, is what we say.
We got a client question here. So what are the economic, social, and political questions that might keep a personal investor or yourself up at night, and what should we not be concerned about in in personal investing?
Okay. Oh, that's a good question. All right, you're really making me think about this. Okay, so the big thing is COVID-19. I mean, we really need to get a handle on this. And when I say get a handle on it, I mean, it's funny, like in politics, like people jump on what people say. So the chief of staff during the middle of the campaign was like, for Trump said, we're not going to control the virus. He's kind of right? Like you're not, what you can do is you can try to do what you can do to mitigate the virus. You're not going to control it. It's going to do what it's going to do. But there's certain things you can do. And I think with Biden coming in, he's going to come with a national plan. He's going to try to bring governors in. Hey, what can we all agree to? Because what you do in Arkansas affects me in Missouri, which ultimately affects me in Illinois, because we're all connected. So it's kind of like, you can't just have these pieces. There should be some baseline minimum thing that everyone kind of says, okay, we're going to try to do that, whatever that is. And then when there are hot spots, you got to like, okay, how are we going to mitigate that damage here? But you definitely can't. The one thing that's come out of this campaign, you cannot shut down the country anymore, like France is doing and Germany is doing. I don't really see an appetite for this country actually putting up with that. So you got to do probably the masks. You got to do the social distancing. You got to do some of these basic things that have been shown to at least mitigate the growth of it so that you're protecting people. And then how much you open up. What do you do with schools? Do you give them the infrastructure to make sure kids, like there's a lot of little things there. But I think COVID-19 is the thing right in front of our face because it's still an unknown. We learned a lot about it, but we still don't know. We don't know how bad it's going to get this winter because it's going to get bad. I mean, it's getting bad across the world, regardless of how you deal with it. The question is, can you contain it? Can you keep it somewhat where it's not so out of control that it's crippling you? Because I do think there is a connection to how you deal with coronavirus and how the economy does. So that's the thing that keeps me up at night because it's an unknown. What should we not be worried about? I mean, I wouldn't be worried about the election. I mean, we're going to have a peaceful transmission of power. We're going to have, whoever wins, they're patriots. They're going to try to govern and do things, and they're going to yell and scream at each other like we always do. But at the end of the day, we're all Americans, and we're going to get through this. I mean, we've been through worse. Okay, so like people who are like getting up and oh, I can't believe this. Like, no, stop, please. We went through a civil war. We've been through a lot. So this doesn't even measure up.
Another question, Andy, for you is that we've obviously been witness to a huge divide in asset categories and performance, right? You've had the large cap growth, the big tech names perform, spectacularly over the last, 6, 7, 8 months. And really, you can go back 3 to 5 years and they performed fantastically. But then you've got the large cap value, the more, dividend payers, the Coca-Colas of the world, they just haven't performed quite as well. And so you've got this historic, divide, it seems like, in asset prices, plus, internationals underperformed domestic and these other, large over small. So you've got these big dynamic disparities. Can you speak to that a little bit? Do you see that, can that be sustained long term? Do you feel like, hey, there's a regression? Help us kind of understand that a little bit and put that in perspective for our clients.
Sure. So look, part of the reason, because we have a huge value shop, we have growth as well, but like, I'll tell you that value right now, it's because of the Fed, it's really tough. You can find them, but you got to work really hard. But the Fed is making that not as hot of a thing right now. As long as the Fed's doing what's doing, interest rates are low, it's tough. But you want it as part of your mix. And then for growth, look, I think they're going to still have opportunities. But right now, it's about coronavirus. Like, where is that in the play? Where is that in the mix? But beyond that, I'm going to leave it to you guys. I don't want to get in front of what you guys are telling your team. But just generally speaking, that's what we're looking at.
Another question, kind of, going back to part of Tim's question regarding stimulus, with all the countries around the world essentially issuing so much debt, to keep their economies floating. What does that mean for currencies or the U.S. dollar, and what's the implications there?
So the beginning of your question I didn't get. Sorry, I got the end. Sorry, I was the very beginning.
Oh yeah, essentially, in regards to all the countries around the world, issuing debt to help fund
Yes,
their
okay.
economies.
Thank you.
And what's the implications,
Yeah.
global currencies?
So it depends on the country, and I know you're like, okay, of course it depends on the country, but so it really, okay. So I'll use the U.S. as an example. People are always saying, well, we have our debt to GDP ratio is this, and it's crazy, and like it's gonna weaken our dollar. Well, you know how much assets the United States has, like between our military and our land, and like it doesn't even compare. It's like we can put a huge debt load, okay, and we'll do just fine. You look at Japan, they have a huge debt to GDP ratio, but they're still doing okay. But if they don't have that resource behind them, if they don't have that trust in their economy and their rule of law, that's where they get hurt. And so we look at it from that perspective. And then when there are different events in different parts of the world, that's impacting it. So that's my perspective from a policy side. I'm looking at that a lot of times.
So one last question, Andy, for you as we wrap this segment up. If you could put on maybe your shine up your crystal ball a little bit, where do you think things might be economically, to some degree more than politically, maybe even 5, 8, 10 years down the road? Do you feel like America's seen its best days, or do you feel like, hey, we're just this is a bump in the road and things are going to get stronger as we stimulate?
Are you really asking
through this?
Are you really asking this question?
Yeah, please.
Okay.
We won't hold you to it. We won't hold you to it.
I'm a red-blooded American. I'm sorry. We're the best country in the world. We figure it out. Come on. I don't know. Look, we're going to be fine. We are going to innovate in some way. I have no idea. And we're already innovating. So like, if you want to bet against America, go right ahead. Go right ahead. I'm not there. But like, and this is not an intellectual discussion. Sorry, it's intellectual in the sense if I looked at their history, the reason we're a capitalist society, innovation, ingenuity, we get so much from people from the ground up, inventing things we cannot even imagine now, and we're going to continue to do it. I know there's a lot of fear about China right now. I'm sorry, like they're doing a pretty good job because I was about 15 years ago, I was like, they can't do everything right for the next 30. Well, they've done a lot of things right. They've managed their economy pretty well. But dude, I'm betting on us. We're going to adapt. We're going to go. You can't replace the freedom that we have and the reward, the risk reward ratio that we have in this country. And, we're perfectly situated, I think. And it's not just happy talk. It's like, it's proven over history. I can't talk to you about specific things, even though there are a few things that I think coming around the world. I think people are all concerned about AI, machine learning, quantum, and they're like, oh, the Chinese are doing this and that. Well, guys, trust me, we're doing some stuff that's pretty cool in that area, and we'll be just fine.
Yeah, one more question for you, Andy. Just got one from a client. Is that what is your thoughts on Social Security and political ramifications of what we're experiencing right now and the effects on Social Security longer term?
Yeah, so Social Security is the third rail of politics. I used to work in the Senate Budget Committee. I worked to balance the budget in '97 when I was in the Clinton White House. Like, we're not touching that. It's not touching it. Now, we may touch it for future. We'll never touch it for existing. So there might be at some point, not now, I don't think in split government actually is the place you might do it. Because when you're the only ones in power and you touch that third rail, you're the only one touching it. But in split government, you're okay, we're sharing this. Okay, we have a say in how, there may be some things for future generations. Okay, maybe, let's talk about the 40-year-olds, 35-year-olds. I'm 52, so I'm like there. So I'm keeping mine. But those guys, let's take it to them. That new generation. That's you, Adam. I know. We're coming after you. Maybe means test. If you make $1 million, I don't want to give. I want to you get something, but you don't get as much. I don't know. That's the discussion. But there's no appetite to touch existing beneficiaries. It's like if you want to sign your death warrant in politics, go ahead and do that. It's just not going to happen. But for future, there could be something that does that. And so that's it.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Andy, thank you so much. I mean, I'll tell you, these insights are great. I know if we were in a live room, you'd see a bunch of applause just for this. So again, appreciate your comments. A lot of insights, a lot of perspective. I know you've got to leave for another engagement, but we appreciate you so much.
Thank you very much.
Thank
All
you.
right. Great work that you do. Thanks.
Take care. You know, as we wrap up, we're gonna have a drawing in just a moment. It's been a joy to host this for y'all. You know, as I thought about the remarks I might conclude with, a couple of things came to mind. And, you know, we consider you our good friends, our part of our family. You know, and I said, what would I advise? What would I say to someone if they were sitting right across the table from me? They were my sister, my brother, you know, my father, great friend. What would I say? I'd say, first of all, you know, we began this discussion, this event, with a quote or with a statement. I just mentioned this. I said, we have seen that we begin, there are no other times like this, or I mentioned we begin these, there are times like no other times like this, and there's been massive change, and we should be cautious. That would be the conclusion that you might want to draw. But let me go back for a little bit. And in thinking about it, we've had other times in history, and this is unique, and we've had other times in history that also have been unique. And let me just take you back on a little road through the past. And this is going to be in some of your memory, not just for the statements I'm going to make, but also because this kind of relates to the events that we've had. We've had, boy, this is our 28th annual client event. And I'll tell you guys, you know, we've had events through a lot of tumultuous times. And our goal has been to get in front of you at each and every time, to be able to deliver information we believe is relevant and consistent and appropriate for you in looking at success in your investments. So let me go back just a little bit. Again, this is unique. This election is unique. There's a lot of policy issues, so I don't want you to get me wrong on this. Think about the economic event. I look back on the event that we had, a client event, October 4th and 5th, 1999. Now, we had an event then, and that was just before Y2K. Now, some of you were at that event. Remember all the concern about Y2K, computers crashing? Well, it didn't happen. And yes, it was a change, but the best course of investing would have been stay diversified, because we don't know when it's going to come back again. And in fact, it did stay down for a little while, 1 year, 2 years. But then remember, we had another event, and that was in 2001. Of course, we all know what happened in 2001. That was 9/11. And you might remember the fear that gripped the country. Events closed down. Are we going to gather again? What's the threat to our security? Well, our event, some of you may remember this, was September 19th, 2001, 8 days after 9/11. We chose as a firm to hold that event because we knew we had to get in front of you to talk about it. Well, just remember the fear that we had in our minds back then. Remember the messaging if we weren't careful about what we heard in the media. And it'd almost be as if we aren't going to return to any sense of normalcy. Well, it was a time like no other. Well, we came out of that. And then I think about the event we had in September. It was September 16th, 2008. Of course, that was a great recession, it was called. Market was down over 30% when we had that event. Now, there was a little bit of an anecdotal a statement I made, and I'm going to make it again because I think it's relevant as we talk about this. I just said this as we introduced the topic and I opened it up. I said, how many, and you're all in a room, had a lunch in front of us, and I said, how many of you are pleased when they open their statements? And everyone's looking around, who's going to raise their hand? Nobody raised their hand, understandably. And then I said, how many are really disappointed when they open their statements? And you saw a few hands kind of go up sheepishly. The last question I said is, how many just refuse to open their statements anymore? And then you saw everybody raise both hands. You know, it's not that we don't care. In fact, we don't open them because we do care. You see, what happens is, we all know this, we only lose if we sell. We don't look at the Zillow value of a house we have every day, and we didn't make that much money. But the point is, if you're in a well-diversified investment plan, as you all are, then what we have is some investments that go up and some go down based on the economy. And what we've done is used our 30 years of experience to develop the plan that is designed to weather the storms. Now, is there a guarantee we're going to do positive and the market does well? Those aren't guarantees. But this is based, folks, on our experience over not just those periods of time, but through periods of time before that as well. In fact, I remember we had 1987 Black Monday. Some of you were around even then, and you're with us as well. So I want you to know that the takeaway from this is, in all cases, emotions ran high. And if we're not careful, we could let those emotions drive our investment decisions. See, emotions come and go. Investment decisions have long-term implications. So the message is that our country and our economy will survive, will remain robust. And also the message to you folks is that we have a well-structured, battle-tested process that we've put in place to develop your portfolio. It's built for times like this. And that, combined with the planning process that we've gone through, is designed to give us more consistent performance and be able to do a great job at achieving your objectives long-term in a variety of market conditions. Now, I mentioned there were a couple of observations that I had, concluding thoughts. One is just about the times that we're in right now. Let me give you the second thought that I had as I thought about how I'd wrap this up. You know, let me just speak from my heart. A couple of things come to mind, and we're all going through some interesting times, in quotes, during this time in our thinking. But you know what this has caused me to think about, and I hope it has you too. Number one, it's given me a sense of thankfulness and gratitude. You may have folks in your family, you certainly know folks that maybe did get laid off involuntarily at Boeing and didn't plan on it. Maybe do work in the hospitality or food service industry or aerospace industry in the transportation area. We know of folks also that aren't doing as well. Small businesses are in a very difficult position. So I'm thankful, and I'm thankful for all of you. I'm thankful for the loyalty and support that you've given us. And as part of what our expression of that, and you may have seen in our slides as we went through this, is the much of the money that we use to usually put this event on, we're giving to those organizations that have a need, that are helping hurting people. And you've seen some of those in the charts. There's one on Union Gospel Mission. There's a couple on small businesses. There's Babies for Homelessness. Those are just for many fine organizations out there. Those are ones that we as a team identified. And we're encouraging all of the money managers that we work with, and we work independently with those managers. We're not tied to them in any way. They're in your portfolio because we've chosen them. The only way they stay there, guys, is if they perform well and relative to their peer group, and that we believe there's consistent management that we expect in the future. But we encourage them to participate in that too. So it's being thankful, and that gives me thankful for, and I get thankful for you too. The other is, I just think the second thought that I have related to what's in my heart is the other word that comes to mind, or phrase, during this time is people that we care about and people that we love. I don't know about you, but during this time, you may have been, someone might have helped you shop for groceries. Someone might have helped you transport you to the doctor. Someone maybe gave you a haircut. I didn't know I was going to do this. Actually, my daughter gave me a haircut. It wasn't this one. It was one because she said, you're not going to the barber. You're getting a haircut, but I'm going to cut your hair. Well, it turns out she had really not too much experience cutting hair, except for her kids, but she did a great job. This happens to be when I did go to the barber. But so and people who you've helped. Think about how you've reached out to maybe your kids in other ways. So these might be friends, family, and other support. So it's given me also, and hopefully you, a sense for how important relationships are. And some of you I know have had situations in your family where you have gotten ill, or maybe you're in a vulnerable position where you're very concerned about COVID. So what that caused, the takeaway from all this, guys, is that we do this for you. We do it for you. We work here for you. We put these events on for you. We have the YouTube videos and the market letters, and we are so grateful, again, for your loyalty. And also, many of you have referred your friends. In the last, oh my goodness, since first of the year, we have 40 new clients in the retirement planning process. 100% of those have come from you. So I can't tell you how grateful we are for you. Thank you for attending today. We're going to have our drawing in just a few moments. I am going to end with a story. So you know what? And we thank you so much for attending. This has been a special treat for us to host this. We weren't sure how it was all going to go off. We're just so thankful for Andy and his remarks. Tim and Adam, great job. And hopefully you all have benefited from this too. But hey, it's time for our drawing. So what we did, we have a technology again. We have a random number generator. You each have a unique number. So you might have found in your registration, there's a unique number. And what we did is went through while you were attending, Emily went through and we randomly, in a random number generator, we have 5 numbers. And I'm going to give you the numbers, almost like a raffle, I guess. But so if you don't know your number right now, jot down these 5 numbers, look to see if it's one that you have. And by the way, if it is one, we know who you are too. So we're going to be sending out a congratulatory email right after this. And that fall arrangement can be delivered to your home. We can hold off if you're not there. We can deliver it someplace else. But it's a special fall arrangement as a gift for us. Now, it doesn't compare with the arrangements that we have for the second session and the first session of our in-person event. But you know, it's a beautiful arrangement. We hope you'll enjoy it. So here are the numbers. Here are the winners. Number 1, it's, first of all, not number 1. It's not that. The number is 247. 247. Congratulations. Second number, 319. Third number, 53. Fourth number, 73. And the last one, 257. So let me repeat those again. 247, 319, 53, 73, and 257. So congratulations to all you winners. And again, we're thankful for you. You know, the awards that we've gotten, and you saw some of those Forbes Barons, we've done that for the last 10 years. You know, those are great, but the real reward is your trust and loyalty. Wouldn't have got those without that, by the way. But thank you so much. And, you know, I want to conclude with a story. After the story, feel free to stick around. Jonathan's going to be playing for a few more songs. If you enjoy that, feel free. So we just want to kind of have you kind of have a smooth transition to your day ahead. So the story is about 3 traveling horsemen. There were 3 traveling horsemen. They were riding along a desolate plain. As they were riding along, a heavenly voice spoke out and said, "Stop, get off your horses and pick up pebbles." Well, they instinctively obeyed, didn't know what to expect, but they got off their horses, reached down, picked up pebbles, and put them in their pockets. And then they went off to their campsite. And as they went to their campsite and bedded down, that heavenly voice spoke out a second time. And then it said, "You'll both be happy and sad." Now, they were really confused at this point, but nonetheless, they were tired. They went to sleep. And then as they got up the next morning, they reached into their pockets. And in direct proportion to the pebbles that they picked up, they found diamonds, rubies, and emeralds. Then he remembered what that heavenly voice said. You see, they were happy they picked up as many as they did, but they were sad they didn't pick up just a few more. Well, our hope, our goal in this event, and really all that we do in this event, though, is that we've been able to give you some pebbles, information, encouragement, perhaps, that you can truly turn in to precious gems in the day, week, and months ahead. Folks, it's our pleasure in hosting this. We so thank you for attending. And as always, feel free to contact us. You all have regular meetings, but we're available for you by email, by phone call. Now we'll go ahead and listen to Jonathan. Thank you so much, folks. It's our pleasure. Bye-bye.
Thank you so much, Paul. How's everyone doing? All right, here we go. Somewhere, baby, over the rainbow, skies are blue. It's a land that I heard of once in a lullaby. Somewhere, baby, over the rainbow, skies are blue. And the dreams you dare to dream, you know that they will come true. Someday I wish upon a star and wake up where the clouds are far behind me, where troubles melt like lemon drops above the chimney top. That's where you find me, babe. Somewhere, baby, over the rainbow, skies are blue. And if birds can fly, why can't I? Somewhere, baby, over the rainbow, skies are blue. And you know that they will come true. Somewhere, baby, over the rainbow, those skies are blue. And you know that the birds can fly, why can't I? Yeah, 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 yeah. Oh. And the birds can fly, why can't I? Oh, oh. And the birds can fly, why can't I? Ooh. What would you do if I sang out of tune? Would you stand up and walk out on me? Lend me your ears and I'll sing you a song, and I'll try not to sing out of key. No, I get back with little help from my friends. No, I get back with little help from my friends. No, I'm gonna try with little help from my friends. What do I do when my love is away? Does it worry how to be alone? How do I feel by the end of the day? Are you sad because you're on your own? No, I get back with little help from my friends. Get by with little help from my friends. No, I'm gonna try with a little help from my friends, babe. Anybody. I want somebody to love. Could it be, babe, anybody? Oh, I want somebody to love. Would you believe that love at first sight is uncertain, 'cause it happens all the time? What do you see when you turn out the light? I can't tell you, but I know it's my eye. No, I get back with a little help from my friends. Get back with a little help from my friends. No, I'm gonna try with a little help from my friends. Teeny baby, anybody want somebody to love? Could it be, baby, anybody? Ooh, I want somebody to love. Get back with my friends. Come on, back with a little help from my friends. Sing it with me. Come on, get back with a little help from my friends. Oh, you're gonna get back with a little help from your friends. Oh. Come back with a little help from my friends, a little help from my friends. Thank you so much, everybody. For all your Tom Petty fans out there. Well, it started out down a dirty road. Well, it started alone. I was all alone. And the sun went down. And I crossed the hill. And the town lit up. And the world got still. Well, I'm learning to fly, and I ain't got wings. Coming out, babe, is the hardest thing. The good old days may not return, but it rocks right now, and the sea may burn. And I'm learning to fly, babe, and I ain't got wings. Coming down, babe, is the hardest thing. Well, I ain't got wings. Well, I ain't coming down, baby. It's the hardest thing. Well, some say life will beat you down. Well, it rocks right now. And I guess you'll know when we get there. Well, we're learning but I ain't got. Actually, we all do got wings. Thank you so much, everybody. All right, if you can bear with me just a bit, I'm just going to play this little ditty for you. Well, drinking buttermilk, baby, and trying to drown my blues away. Well, I've been drinking buttermilk, darling, trying to drown the blues away. Well, I ain't got nobody in this world to care for me. Morning meal, darling, keep rushing through my head. Morning meal, darling, keep rushing through my head. Well, I ain't got nobody, baby, in this world to care for me. Baby, fix me one more drink, girl, and hug your daddy one more time. Well, baby, fix me one more drink, girl, and hug your daddy one more time. You know things don't go to suit you, darling. You know I think I lose my mind. Ooh, baby. Oh, oh. Ooh. Oh, baby, fix me one more drink, girl, and hug your daddy one more time. My mind keeps on turning, baby. There must be spooks around my bed. Well, my mind keeps on turning, baby. There must be spooks around my bed. You know things don't go to suit you, darling. I think I lose my mind.
Jonathan, thank you so much. I appreciate you. Appreciate your talent. Appreciate you kind of getting us out here. And thanks for all. We got a lot of folks that remain. So we appreciate you. And do you want to share your website in case anyone has any questions or wants to contact you?
Most definitely. You can contact me at www.jonathansherrillmusic.com, and I'll put it somewhere in the contact info.
Perfect. Very good. Well, folks, it's been our joy and pleasure. Please feel free to complete the survey. And by the way, I was just reminded, the haircut that my daughter gave me, I mentioned during the kind of a little sharing there, that was one of the best haircuts that I've ever had. So that's the other thing. But hey, guys, it's a joy. Thanks for remaining. And it's our privilege and honor to serve you. Take care. Have a good day. Bye-bye now. God bless.